Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I have Avi Lipkin, a.k.a. Victor Mordecai, on the phone with me today, and he is talking to us from Israel. And he's going to be talking to us today about the Islamization of America. This guy's been speaking Christian churches all across America for some 26 years. As a matter of fact, he's made 2 DVDs with the Prophecy Club, one June of 1997 called Israel on the Brink of War, and, of course, they always are, and the 5 Deceptions of Islam that was made in October of 2003. So he's a good friend of the ministry. His wife, Rachel, is also an Israeli Arabic language monitor. She is the one that reportedly can tell you that at least the Saudis say that President Obama is a Muslim. We may get to that. He's born in America, but he's Jewish, been living in Israel for 46 years. He also is a translator and works with Arabic media, 30 years in the Israeli army, written 6 books. Avi, welcome to the Prophecy Club.
Great to be back with you, Stan.
So, is America being Islamized?
Okay, well, firstly, the answer, of course, is yes, and it is by a master plan, and, I can't take the credit for everything. I got to blame my wife sometimes. Rachel is from Egypt. She left Egypt at age 20. We're both the same age. I left America. She left Egypt at age 20. We're both 66. The last 30 years, Rachel has been working for Kol Israel Radio Services as an intelligence gatherer. She monitors the broadcasts of our neighbors, including Saudi Arabia. And it's interesting that 30 years ago, when she first started working, and she will never forget the broadcast, the Saudis were saying 30 years ago, even if it takes us 150 years, we will make America a Muslim country. And Rachel thought to herself, these Saudis are nuts. How can a bunch of primitive Bedouin take over, 20 million of them, take over the United States? 30 years ago, it was like 250 million Americans. How can Saudi Arabia do something like that? Well, now, 30 years later, in recent broadcasts, the Saudis are saying, we thought it was going to take us 150 years to Islamicize America. We were wrong. It is only going to take us 30 years to make America a Muslim country. So I have a number of approaches to this subject, and of course, I think most of the people who listen to your program know that when they go to any Walmart or any big supermarket, they're going to see women wearing the hijab, something you did not see 10, 20, 30 years ago, but now you see it everywhere in the United States.
We see them all across the Metroplex. As a matter of fact, I just went to Google Maps and I typed in mosque, and there are over 100 mosques all across the DFW area. Shocking. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I have to tell you something. I basically drive around the country. American slang, let's go for a drive around the country. Well, for me, I literally drive around the country. Usually in the summers, I'm in the southern part of the United States. In the winters, and in the summers, I'm up in, the northern tier on the Canadian border, and Seattle and Portland, the Rocky Mountains. And I'm a traveling preacher, and I don't even charge a fee. As you know, I work virtually for nothing. Well, the good thing about traveling all around the country along the Mexican borders and Canadian borders is that I pick up a lot of information that any self-respecting speaker who charges $5,000 a meeting would not necessarily pick up in the big cities. And everywhere I go, I'm like Maxwell Smart, Agent 86. I'm like a spy who stumbles all over himself. I am not sent by the Israeli government. I'm just a roving reporter. I'm a journalist also. And I pick up the most unusual testimonies about how the Muslims are coming into the U.S., legally, illegally, surreptitiously. The U.S. government is actually paying for jet charters to fly in illegal Muslims into this country without passports, without visas, and then they're processed in the United States and sent usually to cities and states more to the north. Let me tell you a little story, and this story is from DFW Airport, which is not far from you. I was returning a rent-a-car and running to catch my flight, and when I gave the keys over to the gentleman, very handsome gentleman, very nice gentleman at the rental car company, and I was grabbing my suitcases to run and catch my flight, and all of a sudden he yells out at me, "America is the greatest country on earth." And I said to him, yeah, I know that America is the greatest country on earth. Why do you think America is the greatest country on earth? And he said to me, well, you see, I used to be like a UPS FedEx delivery boy in an American embassy in Jakarta in Indonesia. I'm a Muslim, he said. That one day delivering packages, the American embassy official points his finger at me and says, hey, you want to go to America? There's a plane leaving tomorrow. Bring your parents, bring your brothers and sisters, bring your friends. Let's fill up the plane. It's paid for already by the U.S. government. And he said, well, none of us have passports. He says, you don't need passports. We'll process you in the United States. Passports, visas. So you told me, Stan, isn't America the greatest country on earth? The guy came into the U.S. with 24-hour notice with no passport, and the charter jets are paid for by the U.S. government. Now, by the way, this is not Obama's fault. This is like 20 years ago I heard this story. The Bushes are totally in bed with the Saudis, with Halliburton, Carlyle Corporation, Bechtel. These corporations are conduits to pay billions of dollars to former U.S. presidents, Democrat and Republican. The floodgates are open, the gatekeepers are bribed, and America is going down like the Titanic.
Well, I'll have to say that the first time I began to notice something wrong with our immigration policy, this was 30 years ago when I was a traveling salesman. I was go out on the road, and I began to notice that when you go up to rent a room in another city, all of a sudden it seemed like all of the hotels were being owned by Indians. And of course, their cleanliness standards are not what Americans are. So, we're used to having our bathrooms clean, not hair all over them. The rugs shampooed, the carpet shampooed and cleaned once in a while. Things being cleaned. And of course, it wasn't clean when the Indians owned the hotels. Hotels that used to be nice hotels, bought up, but now all of a sudden the cleanliness standards dropped. And one day, I said, you want to tell me how you came to be owner of this hotel? And they told a story of basically Americans that went to India and kind of like you said, hey, you want to go to America? And they got SBA loans. They had people basically hold their hand to help them to become wealthy business owners here in America. And I'm thinking, nobody went to my high school and said, hey, would you like to be a wealthy business owner? Hey, we got an SBA loan for you over here. We're going to help you. Nobody did that. Matter of fact, I didn't hear any of my friends ever being helped into some kind of a business. But that's exactly what they were doing. Now, of course, today we hear that Syria is now going to be bringing in over 5,000 immigrants a year. We are supposedly helping all of these wonderful Muslims from around the world move into America. America is turning into a Muslim nation overnight. And by the way, if you go back and read the Old Testament, that's exactly what God did to bring discipline and correction and to destroy Israel time after time after time after time, because he told them, do not bring in people from other nations, because your sons and your daughters will go after their sons and daughters, and you will go after their gods. Same thing happened with Solomon. One of the favorite ways the devil uses to destroy a nation is through immigration. Not that there's something wrong with where they were born, not that there's something wrong with their language or their skin. It's there's something wrong with the God that they bring in.
Yes, I have to add something that, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but I have a 3-year jail sentence in Switzerland, so I appreciate very much you're having a convicted criminal on your show. I was invited by the Christian EDU political party to Switzerland in 2009 to help prevent the Muslims from building minarets. Now, minarets are these tall spires, these tall towers alongside the mosques, and they blurt out 5 times a day with loudspeakers, Allahu Akbar, and, of course, a long prayer at 4:30 in the morning.
And it sounds like a pig caught under a gate. It's the most blood-curdling, finger down the chalkboard, irritating thing I've ever heard in my life, and it's going to happen in America. Go ahead.
Oh, it's already happening. President Obama says it's the sweetest sound he ever heard, this blood-curdling thing. Anyway, so the Swiss, all of a sudden, the Swiss are democratic people, and 15% of their population is Muslim. They have mosques, and usually the mosques are inside of regular buildings. They do not have these minarets, and so they wanted to build minarets or these spires, these towers alongside the buildings, in order to have a call to prayer 5 times a day with these loudspeakers, which you can hear for a radius of about 5 miles.
Oh, yeah, they're very... at 4 o'clock in the morning, I might add.
At 4:30 in the morning, and another 4 times in addition. And so the Swiss people called for something called the Minaret Initiative, and I was brought in as a technical, to help to explain the danger of this. I spoke in 23 German-speaking cities over a period of 4 weeks in Switzerland. I got up and I explained to them, listen, the Swiss people are an educated people, they're liberal people. Well, they're not really so liberal, but, they were very upset about the idea of having this noise pollution, because that's what it is. It's noise pollution, and worse than that, when they say Allahu Akbar, which is the call to prayer, Allah does not mean God. Allah is the Muslim God, which is the moon god, the war god, and the sword god. And when they say Allahu Akbar, they're saying our God, the moon god, the war god, and the sword god, is greater than the God of the Jews and the Christians, which is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That's right. So
now,
it's not just...
Or if anyone says that they got a God greater than our God, who said he was greater than God? Satan, the devil, Lucifer. So I went on record in Switzerland as saying that Allah is Satan, Lucifer, the devil, because in addition to everything else, this Allah, the moon god, the war god, and the sword god, hates the Jews, wants them dead on a Saturday, because the Jews are the Saturday people, hates the Christians, wants them dead on Sunday, because the Christians are the Sunday people, hates the Hindus, hates the Buddhists, hates the blacks, and in the end, they hate each other, and the Muslims slaughter each other, as we see happening today in the Syrian civil war, and in Iraq, and in Libya, and other countries. Muslims say Allahu Akbar before they slit the throats of Jews, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, blacks, and their fellow Muslims. So the second thing I said was, not only is Allah Satan, the devil, Lucifer, Islam is not even a religion. Islam is a criminal psychosis, worse than Nazism, based on the destruction of the entire human race. Satan, Lucifer, the devil, Allah, cannot say he's greater than the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob until every human being is dead. So I said this, and praise God, November the 29th, 2009, people can look it up. Look up Avi Lipkin Schweiz on Google, and you will see that I was in Switzerland, and I said these things, and I got a 3-year jail sentence for hate speech. And this is not hate speech. This is just saying Nazism is not good and Islam is even worse.
So I assume you didn't spend the 3 days or the 3 years in jail.
The jails in Switzerland are like Club Med. Have you ever heard of Club Med, a resort? You got color TV in your cell. I can have kosher food because I eat kosher. I have visitation rights with my wife if she wants to visit me.
But you're not in jail, and you weren't in jail, correct?
Oh, no. This whole thing was done in absentia. I didn't even know about it, and I only knew about it like 6 months later when the Israeli Ministry of Justice sent me a letter saying that I'd been convicted in Switzerland, and the Christian EDU party paid a fine. I was put on 10-year probation. I can go to Switzerland skiing, but if I just say Islam even once, I go to jail for 3 years.
Well, it's coming to America, too.
Down the minarets. November the 29th, 2009, the Swiss people voted by a majority of 57.5% against 42.5%. The minarets are not allowed in Switzerland, and I don't want to be too cocky and arrogant, but I did play a role in the Christian victory in Switzerland.
Well, good for you.
Yes, amen. So anyway, just you should know that I say Allah is Satan, Islam is a criminal psychosis, not a religion, and you have a leadership in Washington, and you have had a leadership in Washington. This goes a long time before Obama. This goes back 60, 70 years, where the U.S. government, for oil and cash, will allow any amount of Muslims into the U.S., and they're hidden from public view, except in the Walmarts. Nobody knows who the devil let these people into the United States. And I believe you got 6 million Jews in America today, and married to maybe 3-4 million Christians, maybe a total of 10 million Jews and Christians together as nuclear families. You got 30 million Muslims in America, which nobody wants to talk about. Because you got 4 million black Muslims of Farrakhan, you got 7 million Arab Muslims as members of the Arab Immigrant Association, you got 9 million Shiite Iranians who came after the fall of the Shah. They're good people, by the way, they're not fanatic Muslims. that are secular, 20 million Muslims, and we haven't even started counting the Bosnians and the Chechens and the Somalis and the Indonesians and other Muslims from other countries. So I believe you've got 30 million. I believe also that Obama is going to help to facilitate the entry. Forget about the 12 million illegal Hispanics. We're going to have 50 million Muslims coming in illegally on the coattails of the 12 million Hispanics.
The Hispanics are a problem, again, not because of color, but because of the God they bring in. Oh, I know they say they're Catholic, yeah, and they've been to church about 2 or 3 times since they were sprinkled as a baby, too. Okay, so what we would call Christian they would not qualify. But the Muslims are far worse. Their objective is to kill everybody that has not bent the knee. Matter of fact, if I were to stand in front of a mosque holding a sign, my sign would read, "Freely accept Jesus or forcefully submit to Islam." In other words, we don't get rid of Islam by physical means. We don't vote them in, don't vote them out. The only way we get rid of that is for people in America to turn to Jesus. Why else do you feel like America is being Islamized?
Well, like I said before, I regularly patrol the borders, and I regularly meet with police, law enforcement, military, good Christians, good Jews along the Mexican and Canadian borders, and they tell me just exactly how the Muslims come into the country, and law enforcement cannot do anything about it because Washington will not allow them to do anything about it. And besides, you have to remember another thing. The purpose of the NAFTA agreement is to raise the total population of the United States from 307 million to 500 million by having Mexico, Canada join with the U.S. That's 500 million people. But because the Turks are going to join the European Union, they're going to go from 350 million to 620 million, meaning, with the Turkic Soviets, they're going to be 620 million. America will have 500 million. America will be short of 100 million immigrants. So the idea is to bring in the Muslims so that the economics here equals out. In other words, you'll have 600 million in North America versus 600 million in Europe, Turkey, and the former Soviet republics, which are now Turkish. You're going to have, I believe, 50 to 100 million Muslims flowing into the country. This is into the U.S. and Canada. I believe you're going to be seeing this increasingly as the whole Middle East implodes, as the Muslims fight each other and kill each other and these countries collapse. Also, another thing very important, I don't know if it's of great interest to your show, but I, as a Jew and as an Israeli, am warning people that the bottom line of all these tens of millions of Muslims coming into the U.S. will be to kill all the Jews in America, like Hitler started. The Muslims will finish this job. And if the Jews are married to Christians, they got to kill the Christians too. So you're going to find Jews and their Christian spouses, totaling about 10 million people, moving to Israel overnight. And I'm forming a Judeo-Christian political party. I don't know if you remember if we spoke about this.
I do.
I wrote in my book in 2006 about the Israeli Bible Bloc Party. I'm forming a Judeo-Christian political party in Jerusalem to run for the Knesset elections in preparation for the homecoming of 10 million Jews and Christians, because they will be coming home, because the Muslims going to the U.S. are going to push the Jews and Christians out and kill them.
Yes. Would you like the scripture that tells all the Jews are going home?
Actually, the scripture that I always use is Hosea 11, verse 10. It says, "My children Ephraim will come home trembling from the west as the Lord roars like a lion."
Yeah, but there's one that's even better than that says they're all going home. Ezekiel 39.
Yes, it says God will gather up the Jews from the four corners of the earth. And like I said before, the Jews are married 80% in the United States, intermarriage with Christians. The Jew is not going to leave the Christian spouse in America or the children of the intermarriage. So there's going to be a tremendous influx of Jews and Christians. My party that I'm working to create does not yet exist in Israel. It will be registered hopefully by the end of May. I will be coming to the States, God willing, June, July, to help for fundraising for this political party, and we missed these elections March 17th, but the next elections will probably be in a year or two anyway, so we're going to have this party up and running. I'll have 50% Christian candidates, 50% Jewish candidates. This will be a love party, unity party, and alliance party of the Jews and the Christians to stop the Muslim Holocaust of Jews and Christians in the Middle East.
What about the mosques going up? What is a mosque? Some people think, it's just another church. court system and a military system all in the same building.
Yes, port system, military system, economic system, soup kitchens, and it's also arsenal. They keep weapons in these mosques. Let me tell you a little story. I spoke once in a Baptist church in Yukon, not Canada, Oklahoma City, western Oklahoma City, and there were 4 policemen there who told me about a sheriff in Tulsa, Oklahoma. An alarm went off at a mosque, and the police showed up, and they found a room in the basement full of AK-47 machine guns. They were all with licenses, so the FBI said, you can't do anything. They got licenses. So these mosques serve as armories. They are gathering weaponries, and they are getting ready for the day when they want to build a nuclear bomb like Iran wants to build. They're going to build a bomb. When there's a problem of malaria, malaria is spread by Nepalese mosquitoes. The problem is not the mosquitoes. The problem is the swamp. You got to drain the swamp. You got to dry up the swamp. Otherwise, those mosquitoes are going to thrive. So the terrorism can only thrive when there's a swamp, when there's a mosque there. And these people do have a plan to take over America, either by peaceful means or by violence. The way I see things happening here in the Middle East, Prime Minister Netanyahu is facing a very difficult situation. My wife picked up broadcasts from the Saudis that Obama has 3 commands to fulfill for the King of Saudi Arabia. One is to destroy Iran, or shall I say destroy the Iranian Shiite regime, replace it with a pro-Saudi or pro-Western regime. Secondly, destroy Israel. Thirdly, destroy Christian America, make it a Muslim country. Those are the 3 commands. Now, you tell me, if President Obama says, heck, we're not going to war with Iran, we're going to let them build their bomb, and Israel can go jump in the lake, what do you think Israel's going to do? Do you think Israel's going to sit around and wait, get nuked? Israel is going to do what it's going to have to do. That's what Obama's going to say to Netanyahu, and that's what Netanyahu is going to say back to the American people. So the idea is Obama wants Iran and Israel to duke it out, and destroy each other. That'll leave him free to Islamicize America completely.
Do you think that Obama is a Muslim?
Absolutely. I have no doubt about it. And in this Saudi plan to YouTube, he says very clearly, I swear I'm going to show the Muslim world as a Muslim what I'm going to do to destroy Israel.
Wow.
How's that for happy news?
Yeah, well, I believe I believe he's a Muslim communist, and I think he will be the traitor. I think he'll be the final president that America has.
You know what? It could be. I don't see him as a positive influence on America.
Matter of fact, one lady saw a vision, and she saw that Obama will never leave office.
That could also be.
In other words, we fall while he's in office.
All I can say, the truth will set you free, and the media is controlled by Islam and petrodollars and the corporations. They are not letting the truth to get out to the American people. American people are completely dumbed down by media that won't tell them anything.
Well, is it any different in Israel?
You know what? I'll tell you something. It is different in Israel. The media is also controlled, but what happens is so many Israelis every Israeli almost serves in the Israeli army, and we know the nature of the beast here because we fight them on a daily basis. And we see the world ganging up on us because the Islamic world does have the oil, the cash, and the numbers, which Israel does not yet have. We see every day that the tables are turned against us. We're playing a poker game, and we've got to reshuffle the deck. God's in charge. God will reshuffle the deck.
Do you think Israel will ever be given large amounts of oil?
Well, we are finding it now in the Tamar and Leviathan fields out in the Mediterranean, and we may find oil on the ground here, under the ground here, on land. I mean, there's oil all around us, so it's only a question of luck. I don't have to tell you, in oil drilling, you can be 1 yard away from a major oil find and miss it.
Do you think that there will be a World War III?
I predict, Russia will be backing Iran in the east. America, Europe, and the Vatican will be backing Sunni Islam. Everybody's using everyone else, and there's going to be a big battle over Mecca. Saudi Arabia is going to collapse, and then I believe that Mecca will be taken eventually by Israel.
If Israel is ever attacked in another war, do you think they'll be victorious? And if so, do you think they'll get back all of their land?
Well, firstly, I believe that Israel's borders are going to actually expand because what God is doing now, look carefully, it's not the Jews who are killing the Arabs, it's the Arabs killing the Arabs. These countries are now depopulating. Syrian population is half of what it was before the Civil War 4 years ago. People ask me, will Damascus be destroyed in a day? I say, well, yes, but the day in God's timing is not like a day in human timing. So God is grinding down Syria. God is, the Islamic Caliphate, ISIS has declared Lebanon part of the Caliphate now. They're going to try to take Jordan. They're going to try to take Saudi Arabia. Wherever ISIS goes, this is God's instrument to destroy Islam. So I believe Israel's borders will increase, and like I said earlier on your show, I believe there will be at least 10 million Jews and Christians moving to Israel, and we will have the people to populate these new lands.
Will there come a time when Israel will let these people, these Christians in? Because right now, you can't really go and move to Israel. Is that going to change?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say something extremely rude, medical. When you're in a hospital and they decide to give you an enema, and you're tied down, you really can't do anything about that enema. When they squeeze the enema, you're going to get injected. Israel is going to be injected with millions and millions of Jews and Christians. We're going to come home from all over the world. The borders are going to grow. I personally think that Lebanon, which used to be a Christian country, will be restored to Christianity under the Israeli flag. Syria and Lebanon are kind of one. And the Kurds are coming down from the northeast. They are our allies. And we're going to come up from the southwest. We're going to meet at the Euphrates, and that's God's word, from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates and from Lebanon to Saudi Arabia. That's Deuteronomy 11.
Okay, where do you see ISIS going over the next 10 years?
ISIS, I think, is going to be terminated within a year or two. The question is, what's going to happen between Israel and Iran? That's something,
Are they going to war?
I don't know. We'll have to see. A lot depends on America and Europe. If America and Europe throw Israel under the bus, Israel is not going to wait to be destroyed. Israel is not going to commit suicide.
So where is America going as far as Islam is concerned?
Good question. I think that this president is a conundrum because on the one hand, I say he's a Saudi plant. On the other hand, he looks like he's becoming Iran's best friend. But I think he's doing that in order to push Israel into a corner so that Israel will have to defend itself by itself. Israel will have to deal with Iran alone, and Iran will counter against Israel, and God protect us. What can I say?
Well, Avi, I appreciate you being on. God bless you. We'll have to have you back again sometime.
God bless you, and God save America, and God save Israel.
Okay, Avi, so how do we reach you and your website if we want to find out more about you?
Okay, www.vic, half of Victor, VICMORD, half of Mordecai.com.
As in short for Victor Mordecai, VICMORD.com.
Fantastic.
Thank you for being on. We'll have to have you back again.
Until next time.
Would you prayerfully consider calling the Prophecy Club or going online and becoming a partaker? 785-266-1112 or prophecyclub.com. That's 785-266-1112. Tell them you want to become a monthly partaker, and they can explain to you all about how to do that. We do need your prayers. Nothing happens without prayers, but we also need your regular monthly support. Not just getting DVDs, not just prayer, but also regular monthly giving. Call 785-266-1112 or go online to prophecyclub.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The next speaker at the Prophecy Club is Jonathan Wright. He's an authority on prophecies in the Bible codes. He says not only do they validate the Bible, but they unseal the prophecies, such as, who are the two witnesses? Is Obama the Antichrist? Will there be a third world war? Will America be nuked and fall? Who is the Mahdi? Will there be a caliphate? When does the rapture take place? What is the role of the Pope and Vatican? Will there be a third temple? And much more. Jonathan will speak Saturday evening 7 p.m. and Sunday morning 9:30 to noon, March 14th and 15th. That's at the Prophecy Club, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. Order the DVD Prophecy in the Bible Codes at prophecyclub.com. Saturday night, 7 p.m., Sunday morning, 9:30 to noon, March 14 and 15, Prophecy Club, 2540 K Avenue in Plano, or order Prophecy in the Bible Codes at prophecyclub.com.